Imagine waking up every day with that nagging feeling that something's missing. You look in the mirror and think, I should be happier, more fulfilled, more alive. But instead, you're stuck in the same routine, doing the same things, hoping that one day, magically, everything will change. And then comes the million-dollar question. Why aren't you living the life you want? Spoiler alert, it's not because you don't deserve it, or because the universe is conspiring against you. In fact, the answer might be simpler and scarier than you think. And today, we're going to unpack this together. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I met someone. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah was that friend everyone admired. Stable job, a nice apartment, a life that from the outside looked perfect. But one day, she said something that stopped me in my tracks. I don't know why, but I feel stuck, like I'm living someone else's life. And you know what I realized? Sarah wasn't alone. So many people feel this way. Maybe even you. But why does this happen? And more importantly, how do we break free? Here's the hard truth. Most of us aren't living the life we want because we're trapped in a cycle of fear, procrastination, and self-sabotage. Sound heavy? Stick with me, I'll explain. Fear is that little voice in your head whispering, what if it doesn't work out? What if you're not good enough? Procrastination is the art of putting things off, of waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. And self-sabotage? Oh, that's the sneakiest one. It's when you create excuses to avoid going after what you really want. Ever caught yourself saying things like, I don't have time, or that's not for me? Yeah, that's self-sabotage in action, but here's the thing. You're not alone in this. Everyone at some point has felt this way. The difference between those who live the life they want and those who just dream about it comes down to one word: action. Yes, action. It sounds simple, but that's where most people stumble. Because action requires courage. It requires stepping out of your comfort zone. It requires facing those fears you've been avoiding. And that's exactly what we're going to do together today. We're going to figure out how you can start living the life you want, step by step, without having to become a Buddhist monk or win the lottery. Let's start with step 1. Identifying what you really want. Seems obvious, right? But have you ever really thought about it? I'm not talking about surface-level desires like, I want to be rich, or I want to travel the world. I'm talking about what truly makes your heart sing. What makes you feel alive? What would you do if you weren't afraid of failing? Grab a pen and paper, or open the Notes app on your phone and write it down. What's the life you want to live? Don't be afraid to dream big. After all, as the saying goes on, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Now let's move on to step 2. Breaking the procrastination cycle. Because, let's be real, it doesn't matter how clear your dreams are if you're not doing anything to make them happen. And here's a game-changing tip. Start small. Yes, small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one thing, just one, that you can do today to move closer to your goal. It could be something as simple as researching a course you want to take or sending a message to someone who can help you. The key is to take that first step, because as Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Let's talk about step 3, dealing with fear. Because, let's face it, fear is always going to be there. The question isn't how to get rid of it, but how to act in spite of it. One technique I love is the what if game. For example, what if I fail? Well, what if you do? What's the worst that could happen? Most of the time, you'll realize that the worst-case scenario isn't as scary as you thought. And, even if it is it worth the risk? After all, how will you know if you don't try? Now, let's move on to step 4, creating a plan. Because without a plan, it's easy to feel lost, like you're wandering aimlessly. But don't worry, it doesn't have to be a super detailed, overwhelming plan. It can be something simple, like, in the next 3 months I'm going to focus on learning a new skill, or I'm going to save X dollars each month to make my dream a reality. The important thing is to have a direction, a North Star. And of course, to be flexible. Because yes, life will throw curveballs. And that's okay. What matters is that you keep moving forward. And finally, step 5. Celebrating the small wins. Because too often we get so focused on the destination that we forget to enjoy the journey. And then when we finally get there, we're left wondering, now what? That's why it's so important to celebrate every little victory, no matter how small. Did you wake up earlier today? Celebrate. Did you finish that project you've been putting off for weeks? Celebrate. Remember Sarah from the beginning of the video? She started doing this, and it was amazing to see how it shifted her perspective. She realized that life isn't just about reaching the finish line, it's about enjoying every step along the way. So, to recap, if you want to start living the life you truly desire, you need to identify what you want. Break the procrastination cycle, deal with your fear, create a plan, and celebrate the small wins. Sounds simple, right? But here's the thing. None of this will work if you don't take action. So, here's my challenge to you. Pick one thing, just one, that you're going to do today to move closer to your dream. It can be something small, but it has to get you moving. Because at the end of the day, the life you want isn't going to fall into your lap. It's going to be built by you, one step at a time. Now let's dive a little deeper into each of these steps, because understanding the why behind them is just as important as the how. In a culture that's constantly telling us to hustle and grind, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters to us. We get caught up in chasing someone else's version of success, whether it's the corner office, the perfect Instagram feed, or the white picket fence. But here's the thing. If you don't take the time to figure out what you want, you'll end up living someone else's life. And trust me, there's nothing more exhausting than that. Take a moment to think about your ideal day. What does it look like? Are you waking up early to meditate and journal, or are you sleeping in and enjoying a leisurely breakfast? Are you working on a passion project, or are you spending time with loved ones? There's no right or wrong answer here. This is about what feels authentic to you. And once you have a clear picture of what you want, it becomes so much easier to take the steps to make it happen. Procrastination is the enemy of progress. It's that little voice that says, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll do it when I have more time. But here's the thing. Tomorrow never comes, and you'll never have more time. The only way to break the cycle is to start right now. One technique that works wonders is the 2-minute rule. If there's something you've been putting off, commit to working on it for just 2 minutes. That's it. The idea is that once you start, you'll find it easier to keep going. For example, if you've been meaning to start a blog, spend 2 minutes writing the first sentence. If you've been wanting to get in shape, spend 2 minutes doing a quick workout. You'll be amazed at how much momentum you can build from just 2 minutes of action. Fear is a natural part of the human experience. It's what kept our ancestors alive in the face of danger. But in today's world, fear often holds us back from pursuing our dreams. The key is to reframe fear as a sign that you're on the right track. If you're not scared, you're not pushing yourself enough. One way to deal with fear is to name it. When you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it failure, rejection, the unknown? Once you've identified the fear, you can start to challenge it. For example, if you're afraid of failure, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And if it did happen, how would you handle it? More often than not, you'll realize that the fear is much bigger in your head than it is in reality. A goal without a plan is just a wish. But here's the thing. Your plan doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it's better if it's not. The most important thing is to have a roadmap that keeps you moving forward. Start by breaking your goal down into smaller, actionable steps. For example, if your goal is to start business, your first step might be to research your target market. Your next step might be to create a business plan, and so on. The key is to focus on one step at a time rather than getting overwhelmed by the big picture. In a culture that's obsessed with instant gratification, it's easy to overlook the small wins. But here's the thing. Those small wins are what keep you motivated. They're proof that you're making progress, even if it doesn't feel like it. So, take the time to celebrate your victories no matter how small. Did you finally declutter your closet? Celebrate. Did you have a productive day at work? Celebrate. These small moments of joy add up, and they'll keep you motivated to keep going.